Okay. All right. Okay, my friends. I am very excited to be here with you guys, and I thank you for taking the time to be here on the presentation. If you pay close attention, you will find some very valuable information today. So let's get started. So I want to start with this idea, this thought, what Buddha said, since everything is a reflection of your mind, everything can be changed by the mind. And this is an absolute truth. However, what is difficult is clearing the mind from this old habit of thinking that there is a world outside of us. Okay, I apologize. Please keep yourself muted. Everyone, please mute yourself. And I'm going to mute from my side as well, all of you. But just keep yourself muted, please. Okay, thank you. Okay, so to continue, the hard part is to start believing that there is no world outside of us, it is only within us. And we slowly need to start changing that perspective, and life will become better. Okay, so getting started, this presentation is about healing childhood issues. Like almost every one of us had difficult parents or difficult childhood. It could be narcissistic parents, controlling parents, absent parents, or wounded parents. And between the age of 2 and 3, the child typically picks up an identity. I'm good, I'm bad, I'm not good enough, I'm not accepted, I'm not loved. And all these identities start to dictate what we attract in the rest of the life. The good news is you can change these deep-rooted identities, and because of that, you can change your destiny. So there are 3 major sections of this presentation. The first part is about how we pick up our programmings. Then the next 2 sections are about how we change them. And at the end of the presentation, we will do a meditation that will help you clear up the negative programmings that you may have picked up during your childhood. So stay till the end, if you can. And also, please hold off your questions till the end, and I'll open up the questions at the end. A very short introduction about me. I was born and raised in India. Till I was 25, I was in India. I grew up in a highly dysfunctional family. I felt lonely, isolated, depressed, and terrified. Fortunately, on the other side, I developed a deep interest in spirituality at a very young age. I got to meet many spiritually advanced teachers in my life. On the left-hand side is one of my main teachers, Goswami Kriyananda, who was in the lineage of Yogananda Paramahansa, which many of you may know is the author of the world-famous book, Autobiography of a Yogi. I came to the US in 1990 to get my master's in computer science. I then worked at Motorola for 16 years in Chicago, where I was one of the pioneers in the development of 3G and 4G cellular technologies. Now let's get started with the main presentation. Unseen energies. There are many, many different types of energies in the universe that tremendously affect our lives. Air, gravity, sound, electricity, magnetic energies. These are all unseen energies, and we know how much they affect us. Now just take a moment to become aware of some of these force fields that influence us at any given moment in time. We are influenced by Earth's gravity, which protects us from flying off into space. We are influenced by the sound waves from the environment, If you just pay attention for a second, you will hear some of the sound waves around you. Either these waves are making us happy or they're irritating us sometimes. And then there are millions of other force fields that we are not even aware of. If you know from science, there are 2 billion energy waves that pass through every square inch of your body every second. Now, I want to emphasize a very important point here. Now, think of a scenario where exercising by a normal, healthy person can be destructive to their health. It's a general understanding that, let's say, running is good for you, and it is in most cases. However, there can be environmental forces that can work against you for this particular mode of exercising. So imagine a scenario where you're jogging in a polluted environment with high levels of carbon monoxide, right? Think about this for a second. In such an environment, if you jog, it will kill you much faster, meaning it will have an opposite effect to what you were intending to do. The point is the environment, the force fields around you have a tremendous amount of influence on you. It's not just our self-work that is important, it is our environment important as well, if not more important sometimes. To give you another example, you hear so many different ideas from people saying, okay, raw food is good for you, broccoli is good for you, celery is good for you. Yes, they are may be very good for you and may be good for most people. But what if you're allergic to some of these things, right? So just taking something for granted that this is good for all is not true. Some people react well to some things and some people don't. When I was growing up and I started learning about this meditation techniques and it said, okay, quiet your mind. And I started quietening your mind and I had a real hard time quietening my mind. And so I told my teacher and my teacher said, you know what? Silence of the mind is poison for you. And I was shocked. How can silence of the mind be poison to me? Well, because my mind is my biggest ally, my biggest tool to generate ideas. If I try to silence my mind, I'm actually working against my own nature. So in short, not everything is good for everyone. We have to use our wisdom. So going back to our earlier points, that we are connected through intricate web of force fields. Now let's talk about another force field that we all know, but we don't really fully comprehend the power of it. It's the unseen energy of our thoughts and feelings. Each one of us is constantly transmitting feeling vibrations, thought vibrations. And these are not something just in our heads. The feelings and the thoughts are forces of nature, just like electricity, magnetism, and gravity. And our feeling energy fields interact with other fields in the environment, just like other forces of nature interact with each other. And thought is a very real energy. We know this. If you enter a room filled with positive people, your feelings will improve and vice versa. And most of you would know this. Dr. Emoto's water experiment shows us that vibrations of thoughts and feeling can affect even matter such as water. So in his experiment, which you know, ice crystals were formed differently depending on the feelings and the thoughts that were projected on water. Now imagine what happens to our body, which is made of 70% water. If we get negative thoughts and feelings from outside, imagine what will it do to our own body and mind. And even in his book, Yogananda Paramahansa says that thought energy is the most potent energy in the universe, but it is one of the least understood by science, at least so far. Thought is a very powerful creative force, and every thought is a cumulative energy that generates our reality. Every thought is added to our individual consciousness and collective consciousness. And thought goes beyond time and space. Now think about this for another second. How big a role did environment play in your life? Your country, your religion, your family, your schools, friends, spouse, career, opportunities, etc. If you were born in a different country or you had different parents, you would have turned out totally different, right? Now, each of these environments is composed of many, many energy fields coming together. It's like a symphony. There are many music players sending out their thought vibrations, but all these vibrations come together to create one sound wave that comes into your ears. If all these sound waves come together in harmony, you will hear music. But if they come together in disharmony, then you will hear noise. And if we grow up in a disharmonious environment, we grow up dysfunctional. And this is actually being proven by science now. So this was a brain scan done of two different children, one who grew up in a normal environment and another one who grew up in an extreme neglect environment. And this has been done repeatedly, and they've seen the brain development is different in people who grew up in a dysfunctional environment. So there is a lot of scientific evidence now which shows that maltreatment, in other words, lack of nurturing feelings during early childhood, can hardwire a person's brain for stress, depression, and other ailments, which typically show up later on in life. And we know this for a fact. The effect of anger versus love on human body is obvious by now. So unfortunately, if you grow up in a negative environment, chances are your life has been difficult and it is becoming more and more difficult over time. And I have experienced that for years and decades. Why? Because negative energies grow more and more stronger as time goes by. And the same is true for the other side. However, there is good news in all of this. With work and support, you can switch sides. You can change the direction of your life. So you may ask how? Well, through the use of the power of your own thoughts. Thoughts, which are the most creative force in the universe. By clearing your consciousness, you can change your reality. Going back to the previous statement I made, or previous statement that I shared by Buddha, the world is a reflection of our own consciousness. So if we start to believe in this, we start to understand and believe in this and change our own internal consciousness, the world will reflect that back to us. And this is an absolute truth. But we have to experiment with it, try it, and realize it for our own self. So now I'm going to talk about two main methods that I will talk about in this presentation on how to change the direction of your life. The first method is through self-work. self-work of non-judgment, and I'll explain what that means. This is a bit of an advanced understanding, but I'm sure you guys are spiritually aware and you will be able to comprehend this. But I also recommend that you download one of the webinars, another webinar that I did 2 months ago from my website. If you go to my blog, there's a blog article on narcissistic abuse, and there's a video, a webinar associated with that. If you want to watch that too, that will be a precursor to this one, and it'll give you a little bit more deeper understanding. Okay, so now the main point that I want to emphasize that you can work on yourself too is the idea of free will, the idea of choice. Imagine what your life would be like if you really believed in having choice. That if you are able to generate in reality whatever you choose to. What if you could do that? What would your life look like? Now, this is it's a difficult idea to comprehend, especially comprehend meaning difficult idea to realize, especially if you have grown up in a difficult environment. Like if you had narcissistic or controlling parents, this is a difficult idea to comprehend. Why? Because narcissistic environment doesn't give you any control over your life. So we grow up in this idea that I don't have a choice in my life. But if you look at your life, look at your history, if you look at it carefully, you will see that whatever you chose consciously, and I'm underlining the word consciously, that is what your life has shown up to be. Choice is the fundamental part of our existence. Universe has given complete freedom of choice to everyone, not just the one person or two people, it's for everyone. Unfortunately, as humanity, we have forgotten this truth. And we are now beginning to remember it again. This is the day and age of awakening to our own free will. And believe it or not, it just started about less than 50 years ago when this awakening started. If you notice, even 50 years ago, a butcher's son became a butcher, a blacksmith's son became a blacksmith. We followed our culture, our society, our parents. It's very recently that we have started to make our own choices. We started picking our own choices. We started picking our own partners. We started making so many choices that we could not even have dreamt of even 50 to 100 years ago. Why? Because we have so much of history of slavery where we have been controlled by other people. So either we were being controlled or we were controlling someone. So this whole idea of control has been deeply embedded in human consciousness. So like I was talking earlier, how did we pick up this idea that I'm not free? That I don't have choice in my life, that I'm just bound by my destiny or bound by my fate or bound by my stars, whatever ways you want to think about it, that I don't have a free will in my life. Now, this comes due to childhood conditionings. And as I was mentioning, many of our parents were controlling in nature, and this creates the mindset in a child that I don't have a choice in my life. Now, what was the main tool used by parents to control the behavior of the children? Think about that. Punishment. It could be emotional punishment or physical punishment. Blame, shame, guilt, rejection are all different forms of emotional punishment. And this emotional this punishment, emotional or physical, is what makes us to start believe that we don't have a free will. And this creates havoc in life. Why? Because we stop making our own choices then. We just start to follow the society. Now, it's important to understand that any kind of punishment implies to the child's mind a sense of rejection. And as we all know, acceptance and love is a fundamental need of any child or any person. Just like other basic necessities of life. And a person will do anything necessary to get approval and acceptance from others. Because without that, life is very hard. Lack of acceptance and love is the leading cause of anxiety, depression, and other ailments in life. So if you were punished in any form and shape, think about the ways you were punished in your childhood. All that punishment implies rejection to a person because punishment means no love, no acceptance. And it also tells the child that I don't have free will. I don't have a choice in my life. Now, how does a human being deal with the hellish life of rejection and no free will? It becomes literally hell. That I have no free will and I have no love. How am I going to live this life? So we put up, to deal with this, to cope with this, we put up a mask. Something called personality adaptation in psychology vocabulary. We modify our personality, which will get us at least some approval so that we can at least survive. And unfortunately, those techniques may work for a little bit initially, at least for survival purposes. But as we grow older or we go and become more adults, these techniques stop working. And these techniques are extremely detrimental most of the times. So I think it will be useful to take a few quick examples of some of the techniques that I have used in my own life and I've seen working with hundreds and thousands of people, how they have used some of these techniques to survive. So one of the examples that I give, because it's a pretty profound example, is that of a lady who got crippled from waist down, paralyzed from waist down, around the age of 45. And that's the time she came to me to start working with me. And rewinding the tape back in her mind and rewinding her life story back, discovered that when she fell down, I think around the age of 2.5 or 3, she got a lot of love and affection from her parents. And that got embedded in her mind. Otherwise, the parents were very absent from her life. And so this event got embedded in her mind that, okay, if I fall down and if I hurt myself, then I get the love and attention. So this was her coping mechanism, is to hurt herself consciously or unconsciously, most of the times unconsciously, to get the love and attention she needed. And I'm sure it worked for some time. But then as she grew up, this stopped working. Her father stopped looking at her injuries, quote unquote. Then she married a husband who also did not pay much attention to her. And to get his attention, she started to hurt herself. to a point where she hurt herself so badly once. She actually fell down and hurt herself so badly that she crippled herself. So once she understood this, and we worked on many other things simultaneously, she got completely well again. And it was a miracle because the doctors couldn't believe it. Shows the power of human consciousness. Okay. The next point is that this also, what we have been discussing so far about the adaptive techniques, this also leads to another problem that is called fragmentation of consciousness. Parts of our consciousness that we don't get approval get hidden. And we create a fake personality to get approval. So in a sense, we start to live a very fake life. Our true self and our heartfelt desires never get to see the light of the day in such a living state. This is an example from Africa. So I don't remember exact time frame this was happening. I think it was somewhere in the 50s. There was a company that was creating toxic material and dumping it into the oceans. So the government of that country said, no, you can't do that. So the company found another way to deal with the toxic waste. Instead of doing it right way, they found a wrong way. They put the toxic waste in barrels and hid them under the sand. So it was out of sight and out of mind, and the government started bothering them. However, a few decades later, the barrels got corroded, and the toxic waste started to seep in through the sand and reach the water system. So the water system of that city got polluted, and hundreds and thousands of people died. And nobody knew what was happening till they really found out the source of it. And this is what happens in human consciousness. Parts of us that were not accepted by the society, they get hidden. We hide them. And we hide them so well that we ourselves don't know they're inside of us. And these parts of us that don't get the light to heal them, they start becoming toxic. And they become toxic to a point where they destroy our own body and mind and our life. And this toxic stuff eventually comes into our face in a very bad way at some point. So this whole way of hiding our emotions and stuff, even though it was not done intentionally, is very harmful to our well-being. So the next question is, how do we heal all these hidden and toxic pieces of our consciousness and become a complete whole so that we can shine our true self in this world? How do we do this? And that's what I'm going to share with you. So first, knowing the problem is very important. If I don't even know the problem, how am I going to solve it? It comes through complete and utter self-acceptance. And I know this is almost a cliche in the spiritual world these days. What does it even mean? What does self-acceptance and self-love even mean? And how do I accomplish that? Self-love is not just about getting a massage or pampering ourselves. It is going much deeper than that. It is about understanding and accepting all parts of ourselves, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I will explain this more. Something magical starts to happen when we start to accept even the ugly parts of ourselves. Another example I would like to quickly share is one official from a very high place in the government. I was working with him. He's a man of a lot of confidence and power. And his life seemed perfect until it was not. And this was what is happening. He had a extremely powerful personality from outside, a mask, so to speak, but inside he was hiding all these problems. And one fine day, those problems blew up on his face in a very, very bad way. So we started to bring to surface those hidden parts of him so that they could be healed in the light of consciousness, to integrate those hidden ugly pieces, so to speak. And it changed his life. So let's talk about how do we get to the level of self-acceptance that really changes us from inside. And this is the most important wisdom. It can be hard, not because it is hard in its nature, it is hard because it's an old habit. And this is the wisdom required to reaching a complete level of love for our own selves. Think about this for a moment, this idea that I'm going to share with you. What is good and evil? How do you define good and evil? If you look carefully, good and evil are arbitrary definitions created by society. From universal standpoint, there is no good and evil. The universe does not differentiate between good and evil. The universal definition of love goes beyond the definitions of good and evil. So I want you to pay attention to this because this is a very important point missing from the society. Good and evil are learned judgments based on societal definitions. Guess whoever created this idea of good and evil was with the intent of creating these ideas to control people. Just like when you were growing up and you learned good and bad from your parents, when you were punished for bad, quote unquote bad, and you were rewarded for good, you learned what good and bad means from a societal perspective. Broccoli is good for you was a definition, let's say, just as a very crude example, was a definition given to you by the society. It may be poison for you. So there is no inherent good and evil. There's no inherent good and bad. It is created by the mind, the society. I personally believe that the story of Adam and Eve from the Old Testament, and I'm not into religion at all, is the most profound wisdom imparted from any religious text that I've heard of. What did God say? And this is an idea being presented by the Old Testament, and please, I'm not into religion, but it's such a profound idea that it is very important to pay attention to it. What did God tell Adam and Eve? You can live in the Garden of Eden as long as you want. Just don't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I'll repeat that. Just don't eat from the tree of the knowledge, underlying the word knowledge of good and evil. In a sense, God was talking about what the knowledge of good and evil does to human consciousness. It fractures it. It fractures human consciousness. And it creates duality and opposites. It creates war and hatred. It creates diseases. It destroys the planet and well-being at all levels. Unfortunately, we have thousands of years of history behind the idea of good and evil. It has gotten deeply embedded in the human consciousness. And it will take some time and effort to get out of the consciousness of judgment. So the next question you can say is, how do we do that? How do we effectively come out of judgment and go back to the Garden of Eden, so-called heaven, or whatever you want to call that, but to a place where we can live in peace and harmony and well-being? So I'll explain this very clearly. It's a very simple idea. It's a very simple way to do it. It's just that we are not habitual to doing it. That's all. It's very simple, not easy always because of the habit. So how do we get beyond good and evil? We get beyond an evil by replacing the idea of good and evil with the idea of personal choice. We're back to choice now. And I'll show you how it relates. We all have the full right to accept what is beneficial and reject what is non-beneficial for us. Meaning you have a full right to your personal choices, whatever they may be. Whether these are ideas, thoughts, beliefs, people, or things. However, there is no need to add a layer of judgment on top of your choices or anybody else's choices, which is very important to understand, that we don't need to add judgment on top of other people's choices as well. And it's only in that we are able to make our own choices as well. For example, if a person is behaving disrespectful to you, you have full right to respond the way you want to respond. But you know what the human mind tends to do when somebody is disrespectful to us? Let's say, just as an example, it adds a layer of judgment on top of this. That this person is bad, is evil. We instantly jump to the idea of good and evil whenever we find something that we dislike extremely. And in fact, anything that you dislike for too long, you'll start to hate it or judge it. You'll start to judge it. And this creates an energy of negativity in our consciousness that is very burdensome. We are now energetically entangled with this person because of the judgment. And I would highly recommend that you feel it right now. Pick one relationship or issue that you are struggling with. It could be a relationship, it could be an issue, whatever it is. And see if you have a feeling of evil or bad associated with that issue or that person. Feel it right now. You can feel it. It's in your heart. That you will start to feel a level of disgust or some heavy, burdensome energy in your heart or in your gut, which feels, oh my God, this person is evil, this person is bad. It will feel very heavy to you. I got divorced 2.5 years ago. And for some time, I really started feeling that my wife was bad and evil. Ex-wife was bad and evil. And it created a judgment in my mind. And it's, to some degree, it's human nature, because if you've been struggling, I'd been married for a long time and I'd been struggling with that relationship for long. And over time, it just starts to become very heavy and burdensome. I did not have the courage to leave that marriage earlier on. And I kept on struggling, kept on struggling. And the only way I thought to relieve that burden was to treat that other person as bad or evil. That became my way of dealing with the situation. So in the exercise that you were doing, let's say you had some person or an issue, and I'm pretty sure you will feel a sense of heaviness because of this idea of judgment that that person is bad or evil, or the situation is bad or evil. Bring to your understanding that the other person is who they are and you are who you are. They will do what their nature is, and you cannot expect them to do anything other than nature or their choices. And in that understanding, you have awareness of your own choices. And if you remove this idea of good and evil, or evil person, putting the label of evil on them, you will feel a lightness in your heart and in your system, and you will start to get disentangled from that energy. Another example, say you want love from another person, but you're not getting their love and attention. As children, we didn't have a choice. We had to find some coping mechanism. But as adults, we have choices. Now bring this understanding that you just brought in, and don't put a label of evil on that person. Whether it's a narcissist, whether it's a controlling person, or whatever that person is. Whether that person loves you or not is their choice. And remember, they have a right to their choices. Everyone does. So for the other person to love you or not is their choice. You cannot force it on them. But you have a choice to respond in whatever ways is appropriate for you. You can tell them the truth. You can share your feelings with them. Or you can leave the person, go somewhere else. That person is not the only person who can give you love. So instead of trying to force or emotionally manipulate the other person, look at your own choices. What choices do you have, rather than try to manipulate the other person into changing their choices. And with all my learnings and understandings, there is only one law of the universe. We each have our own free will. And the only sin, quote unquote sin, I don't believe in sin very much, but if there is something called sin from a universal standpoint, the only sin is trying to alter somebody else's choices, either through force or through manipulation. And we are all guilty to some degree or the other, trying to manipulate somebody else. We all do that. We have all done that because of lack of wisdom. And you know what that does? It creates guilt in our heart. When we try to manipulate somebody in any which way, it creates guilt. And guilt so we have, in a sense, violated a universal law. Now, guilt could be real or false as well. We'll talk about that. So if you did do something wrong, quote unquote, in the sense of manipulating someone else, then just go apologize. As simple as that. Accept that you made a mistake, you didn't know any better, and apologize. Then it's their choice to forgive you or not. But you have done your job. You're clear. You apologized. Now, if they forgive, great. If they don't, that's their problem. It's their choice. And as you know, guilt is a very problematic energy. The emotion of guilt draws punishment from the universe. We are opening up ourselves for punishment. So relieve yourself, release yourself, and move on. And let yourself move on and let the other person or thing move on. So that you can disentangle from this entrapment, which starts with this idea of good and evil. That's the basis of entrapment. So if you can get over good and evil and focus on your choices, not on other people's choices, because everyone has a free will. Focus on your choices, you will be free. And the implications of this are very, very deep. It can completely alter your destiny. Just this idea, just this focus, this habit. Change your habits of thinking and you'll be free. And of course, do the same thing for yourself. Go deeper and deeper to getting beyond the idea of good and evil for yourself. It does take a lot of effort, awareness, and work and changing of habits, but we can all do it. We are being called to do it. Now, moving to the next step, self-work is critical for moving our life forward. While we do the self-work, let me tell you another method that will help you find some relief while you're doing the self-work to improve yourself. Because of the thousands of years of programming, we get so bogged down with struggles that just self-work makes it very hard to move forward. So someone is really struggling with health issues, physical issues, emotional issues, mental issues, anxiety, depression, whatever, to tell them to do self-work and move forward is not the most wisest thing. They're just in that state where they are not able to do self-work enough. So we do need support and help and some relief before we can even come to a stage of doing some decent amount of self-work. So support is sometimes very necessary, depending on the situation we are in, to move forward in life. And this is where Lifetron Healing comes in. This is an unprecedented solution to heal your body, mind, and life without much effort on your part, almost no effort on your part. You can completely heal your body and mind without any practices, rituals, medicines, or supplements. Of course, I do recommend self-work with whatever is possible for you at a given point in time. This amazing technology I call Lifetron Healing Technology. And I know sometimes it sounds too good to be true. And yes, it is too good. And yes, it is true. If you remember from earlier discussion, how does a person become this depressed, anxious, or unhealthy? Because of the 24 hours presence of negative environment that they grew up in. So if you were in that 24-hour negative presence of parents who were angry, screaming, yelling, fighting, whatever else was going on in your life at that time, that created who you became. All the junk thoughts that we picked up over lifetimes get stored in our consciousness. And cleaning up all the thousands of years of garbage is not easy sometimes. So as I mentioned earlier, I worked at Motorola for 16 years. I was one of the inventors of the 3G and 4G cellular systems. So one day I woke up and I said, what if I could build a healing technology that could transmit healing energy 24 hours a day to any living being anywhere on the planet? Would such a healing system, constant presence of healing energy, reverse the damage that was done to a person as a child and put their life on a positive trajectory? Can such a healing system speed up the healing process so that they don't have to struggle so much and over again? That was the genesis of my work on Lifetron healing. That's when I designed and developed the Lifetron healing technology. And let me tell you how it works. So Lifetron is a device, is an electromagnetic device that I've placed in the Himalayas in the city of Darjeeling. It is placed inside the house of a friend of mine who helps me maintain this device because I live in San Francisco Bay Area. And if you got anybody lives in this area and you want to visit me, please, I would be more than happy to meet new people. So I connect with this device remotely from here, and I program this device. And this device essentially harnesses particles of life energy that I call lifetrons. I actually borrowed this term from Yogananda Paramahansa's book called The Autobiography of a Yogi. He mentions this term in his book. And these are the particles of life energy that make up our body and mind. And they certainly know how to heal it. So this device harnesses these lifetron particles and remotely transmits them to any living being anywhere on the planet 24 hours a day. In the constant presence of this energy, the person's body and mind begins to heal. Remember, when you were a child, you did not do any self-work to become who you became. You were either in the presence of a negative environment or a positive environment, and your life turned out accordingly. So the idea here is that if the negative childhood environment can create a dysfunctional life, then then the opposite must also be true. A positive environment should reverse that damage. So I want you to hear this video from a client of mine. It's an interesting case that I would like to share with you. Just give me a second to share this. Okay, here we go. So this is Jane.
The chronic fatigue before iZone, I could be bedridden, feeling very, very poorly, actually sometimes feeling like I must be dying of something undiagnosed, very poorly indeed. I had no social life because I couldn't get out. Some days I was bedridden or I was on the sofa. And in the last 3 months, I've only had 2 bad chronic fatigue days. Beautiful. And I haven't had one now for over a month at all. And so, that in itself is a miracle. It took a bit longer. It wasn't instant, but the effects are lasting. And I'm feeling, very much better. I mean, like a whole new person, if you like. Beautiful. I'm feeling like the best Jane I can be at the moment.
That's wonderful, Jane. So on a scale of 0 to 100, let's say, if 0 being the worst and 100 being the best, before you joined the iZone, what was your feeling at?
Oh, I mean, I was at 0. I had 0 energy, 0 anything. And now I would say that I'm probably 98%. Some days 100%. It varies a little bit, but, quite miraculous, really. And I'm someone who's tried many healing modalities, over many, many years, and I have not ever experienced anything like this.
So that was Jane. She was 50s, 87, 85 years old when she was started my healing work. And that was the voice of my ex-wife. And it used to be called Lifetron before. Oh, sorry, iZone. This thing had several names over times, but it is now called Lifetron. Okay, going back. Give me a second again. Do, 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 do. Okay, here we go. Okay, so going back to the presentation. Yeah, so essentially, this is a faster way to heal our body and mind. You know, in this day and age where we have technology to make our lives better and easier, why can't we use technology to heal our body and mind even at a spiritual level or at a deeper energetic level? If you want to travel from New York to LA, you will take a plane ride, right? You can, of course, walk your way through. It will be very tiring and much more expensive. These days, it's so much easier to buy a plane ticket and travel in comfort, relative comfort. Similarly, Lifetron healing is a far easier, cheaper, and comfortable way to heal our body and mind. Of course, please don't misunderstand me. This person, excuse me. The self-work is important, but self-work, whatever you can do, don't exert yourself too much because that's not good. And the best part is you can actually do this for anyone, your pets, your children, adults, seniors, even without their knowledge. They don't need to know. You're doing a good thing, you're not doing a bad thing to them. And in fact, many of my clients are actually children who don't even know their own energy. From as little as few weeks old to 18, 19, 30-year-old adults, and their parents have put them on the energy because they're going through some serious struggles. One of my clients recently, just a month ago, she put her adult daughter, I don't know how old she was. She was going through some really rough time, broke off from her fiance, and she was extremely depressed and really in a bad shape. And she was looking for a job. And within a month, her life turned around. Actually, I've got a video from her that I won't play right now, but it's really interesting how within a month her life turned around. Okay. I also do personal sessions with clients. And I do 3 things during the session itself. One is to find out the root cause of the dysfunction. Once we understand where it is coming from, what ideas, thoughts, beliefs, identities got created at a childhood stage, which typically get created around the age of 2 to 3. I also show you the wisdom behind the issue and how to solve it. There are many different ways to solve it, and I can show you how to solve them. And the third and most importantly, I see your light at the deepest level of your being. And if I see your light, you will see your light too. The light gets transmitted through seeing. And this really speeds up the healing process as well. So in closing, I would like to say you can really change your life. You can really change your life. It's not easy at times, because of the lifetimes of programmings, conditionings, ancestral issues, and whatnot. And there is so much of confusion in the spiritual world with spiritual ideas that to me don't make any sense. So it's a little tricky. It is tricky. I shouldn't say a little tricky. It can be very confusing. But it is what it is. You just need to keep moving. And if there's anything I can do for you guys to help you in any way, feel free to reach out to me. I work with everyone individually. I'm not just a mass marketing kind of a person. My phone number, my email, everything is on my website. And I personally attend to most of them, or all of them. So just remember this thought. With support and self-work, it is entirely possible, not just possible, it will happen. And you can turn around your life. And I'm here to help you in any which way I can. And I do these webinars almost once a month or once in 2 months. And I share wisdom and deeper understandings and energy as well. Some of you may have actually felt the energy that gets transmitted through my voice. So many good wishes, blessings. Now let's do the meditation. And after the meditation, I will take any questions that anyone has. Okay, so close your eyes and open your inner awareness. Scan your body from the top of your head down to the toes for any stress, tension in any part of the body, and consciously release it. Now, bring to your attention the point 6 inches above the crown of your head. And imagine a golden ball of light. And also imagine a vertical column of light that passes through the bottom of your spine, the root chakra, the base of your spine, and goes straight up to the crown of your head. It's a vertical straight column of light. And all your chakras are embedded in this vertical column of light. Now imagine a golf ball size ball of light, the color of deep red. A ball of light the size of a golf ball, color deep red, deep bright red. Now let this ball descend from the crown to the base of your spine. Slowly descend to the base of your spine, to the root chakra, the first chakra. And let it reside there. Just let it stay there. This chakra represents safety, well-being, security, stability. So just imagine that red ball of light residing in your root chakra. Next, imagine a bright orange ball of light above the crown of your head. Bright orange. And while that red ball is still there, you have this new ball descend from your crown down to your second chakra, which is the sacral chakra. It's a little bit below your belly button. Let it go down there slowly and let it stay there. Next, imagine a yellowish golden ball of light. Descending from your crown, going down to your solar plexus, your third chakra, which is slightly above the belly button. Let it go there and reside there, while the other two balls are also there, balls of light. Now imagine a third ball of light, the size of a golf ball, bright green. And let it go from the crown down to your heart chakra, which is right in the middle next to your heart. It's the middle, is the center of your, the same level as the heart, but in the middle of the chest. Next, imagine a bright blue colored ball and let it descend from the crown down to your throat chakra. Next, imagine a ball of light the color of indigo, a very dark blue. Let it descend from the crown down to your third eye, which is in between your eyebrows, the level of the eyebrows. Next, imagine a purple ball of light, bright purple, descending to your crown chakra. Now just scan these 7 chakras, that these balls are still there. They're of course there. Just keep your attention to each of these balls. See them all in your chakra system. These bright balls residing there. And just imagine them very lightly, gently and lightly vibrating. Gently vibrating. No harshness, very gently vibrating. Just imagine. Very good. These balls of light are made of grace, and they're clearing up your chakras from all negativity and replenishing you with all positive that you need to live a healthy, happy life. Okay, now gently allow all these balls one by one to go back into the sky where they came from. keeping all the goodness that they provided you. And feel the relief, the goodness, the well-being that this light has provided you. Okay, and you can gently open your eyes whenever you're ready. Very good. Okay, so if you have any questions, you can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself and talk. Either one is fine. Let me share my video as well. Okay. Francine. So thank you everyone who has made comments on the chat. I didn't listen to the read those chats before, but thank you again. Christina says, what a huge release of energy. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christina. Thank you. And if you have any questions, you can put it on chat, or you can even unmute yourself or raise your hand. I think there's many ways you can bring yourself up. And anyone is allowed to, if you have any questions, any comments, anything you would like to share, that's great. Suzanne, would you like? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
I've been doing a lot of energy work lately with different healers, and I was wondering if I was to try the Lifetron as well. If there's too much work you can do, can you override your system as you're clearing out negative energies?
Of course you can. Of course you can. Yes, too much of energy work is not always the best thing to do. But yeah, you got to make a choice and pick, see what works for you. But again, on the flip side, Lifetron is pretty intelligent. The Lifetrons itself are pretty intelligent. They will by itself not overload you. And Lifetron energy system is designed in a way that it does not overload you. So yeah, it's totally up to you. Your choice.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm talking about choice here.
I just have this deep need to heal my old wounds because I'm a healer myself, and I just want to be able to connect and help others better. And so I tend to maybe want to go and do everything to heal quicker, but I just don't know if I'm doing too much, because everything sounds wonderful to me. And I do feel that I'm shifting. I just sometimes want to have it done maybe too fast.
Yeah, no, that's not just your fault. I think it's partly the healers also at fault. Because there's a lot of marketing that goes on in this field, a lot of marketing, where it's the healers have taken a weekend course or 2 weekends course, and they start doing all kinds of stuff. And there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything negative. It's just that some people are not trained enough. This takes minimum of 10-20 years to get even a hang of what the heck is going on in this world.
Yeah.
So it's a very complicated field. Healing is a very complex field, and so with limited knowledge, we can harm someone actually rather than help someone. So you got to be careful. And I'm of course everybody's trying to do their best and trying to heal and make a living and whatnot, but it's just it still requires a lot of wisdom and understanding. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you like, have a session with me. Maybe I can look into your system more and recommend a few things possibly.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Suzanne. Okay, somebody. Oops. Okay, hang on. Junie, you want to share anything or question? Junie, are you trying to show something? The book autobiography for Yogi. All right, thank you. Good. Yes, absolutely. I'm not able to hear you, but that's okay. Okay. All right. Any other? Okay, somebody else is putting up a chat. Christine is saying, when I focus on Lifetron, does it hear me or respond? No, Lifetron directly doesn't hear and respond. You interact through your intentions. So the intentions that you provide me is how it responds to you. I hope that answers. Okay, Marie, did you have anything?
Yes.
Okay, hi Marie.
As always, thank you very much for your kindness, your knowledge, and for your sharing. And that comment you made from the Bible about don't eat from the tree of good and evil, it went deep down. I am very familiar with the Bible, and I've never heard it explained like that. So that in itself was very shifting for me deeply. I thank you for that.
Oh, you're most welcome. Most welcome. And thank you for your comment, because I truly personally believe that is one of the biggest issues that we are facing as humanity. And because we have lived in judgment for so long, that we have even forgotten what it means to live without judgment.
Yeah.
And judgment essentially kills our choice or choice of other people, and that is just destructive. After that, we are either trying to control our somebody else's choices, or somebody else is controlling us, and there goes our freedom.
Yes. Thank you also for the process that you did.
Wonderful. You're welcome. Thank you. Barb is asking, if we submit someone else for healing via Lifetron, what do you suggest the intention? Well, the intention would be whatever you want to heal for them, right? So it's whatever you need, you see the issues are for them. If they are not able to tell you, or you don't want to discuss it with them, then you just make your guess and see what is their issue. Does it violate their free will? No, it does not. Because see, when you're violating their free will, when you're trying to manipulate the other person. And Lifetron healing system, and I will not, of course, not accept anything that you provide as a manipulation. But if you're not manipulating, you're just saying, okay, I want good for them. I want them to be healed, and I want good for them, whatever issues they're struggling with. That's not a violation, right? You're violating somebody's free will when you are going and saying, I want them to be manipulated. I want them to change so that I feel better. That's manipulation. Okay. Hope that answers. Do you need so LB is saying, do you need a specific intention beyond the highest good and best good? Beyond the specific intention. I'm not sure I understand the question, LB, but I'm assuming what you're asking for is, does the intention need to be in the highest and the best good of the person? Well, yes. I'm assuming the intention that we want the best good and intention for the person, whoever you're doing it for, yourself or somebody else. So yes, it should be in that interest. But yeah, of course, we are in this earth plane, and we have needs and stuff. So yes, you can ask for whatever things you need. Yes. Okay, I got your question. So you're saying that does the intention need to be more specific than the highest and best good? It is helpful. So of course, the energy is by definition designed to bring your best, be in your best interest. It knows. It's intelligent. It's not stupid. Right? It's coming from the realm of super consciousness. It knows what is good for you. However, it is useful and helpful to make specific requests, right? Because see, we have been given free will as well. So you may want certain things, and it's okay to ask for what you want. So it's good to ask what you want. It's helpful. So hopefully that answers the question. Okay, very good. Lynn has got she's got her hand up. Lynn?
Hi, Sanjay. Hi, Sanjay.
Hey, Lynn, how are you?
Well, you were speaking about my daughter, so if anyone's interested, it was life-changing. It was life-changing. I did 30 days for myself, and I added her. She did not know. I asked for her gut healing. I asked for her to be connected with herself, her highest self and truth, and to find a fulfilling job and what would bring passion to her life. Unbelievable. She's a whole different person. She moved to a different state, and it's transformed her life, and she everything on that was checked off. That's beautiful. And mine was more specifically emotional based. So my question is, thank you, Lifetron. I feel amazing. I feel blessed and in love with myself in ways I've never been before in my life. So I wondered if it would continue to support my emotional journey with that self-love and acceptance, and also with knowing how to serve in the future, if that's specific enough to say, the energy to help me on this path of service for the collective in the new earth.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lynn, it's totally up to you. The energy doesn't question. Energy is energy, right? It's a very intelligent energy. Of course, it'll not do any harm, but you can ask for whatever you want. That is in your best interest and the best interest of anybody else. Yeah, it's totally up to you. You want more love for yourself, ask for that.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I only did the 30 days for me and for my daughter, and I feel like I know that was a catalyst to push me past a blockage I had or something. And I just adore you and the system, and bless you, hon. I love you.
Oh, thank you so much, Lynn. You're so sweet. It's so sweet.
I do. I love you. You're great. And Lifetron is amazing. I would highly recommend it for anyone to just push them to that point, just to get them, even if they try for 30 days, and just really do the I love you affirmations and focus on what they asked. I wrote it all down. She still doesn't know I did this for her. She doesn't know I did this for her. I don't know when I'll tell her. I don't know if she'd be upset. She'll be 24 in January. So I did not tell her. Maybe someday on down the road, I'll tell her, but I just didn't. She thinks I'm woo-woo.
Beautiful.
So anyway, bless you, Sanjay.
Thank you so much. I need the blessings as well.
Well, you are amazing.
No, thank you. I truly appreciate it, Lynn. Wonderful. And I hope your daughter and yourself, you keep improving and feeling better. Wonderful. Thank you again.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Marie is asking, is there a long way? No, okay. Marie, just send me an email. I'll reply to that. Okay, excellent. If nobody has any other questions, I think I will close the call. But if you have any other questions, feel free to talk, or I'll stay for a few more minutes. But if not, I will close it soon. Maria, did you have a question? No, probably.
Maria?
Yeah,
Me?
Maria, did you have a question?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Hello. Yes. I done a live. Well, you done that Livetron session with my daughter a few months ago. Maybe you remember in summer. She's from Ukraine.
Oh,
and
yes.
she had a very hard condition. And only now I feel she's getting better. Only now, I mean, yes, she's feeling more happy. She smiles more. She came out of depression. I wanted to ask, can we do another session with her?
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, so just send me an email and then we will connect on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I used to call you on the phone. I still have your phone number here.
Yeah, give me a call.
Because she didn't know about it, and she would not want to know about it. I wouldn't want her to know, because she also looks at me like I tried this and that and this and that, she says. But it did help. It took quite a long time, because she had a very hard case. She was born, I'd say, in fear. I was in fear when I was delivering her. And then my husband died when she was only 2. And now I understand, from 2 to 3, she really did have a hard time.
Yeah, Maria, your daughter's case was very complicated, actually. I remember that.
Yes.
Very complicated. Probably one of the most complicated ones I've dealt with.
Yes, I heard that but I see some changes in her. And that's why I would like to do it one more time.
Sure, absolutely. Just call me or connect with me separately, okay?
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Oh, you were
I like this webinar very much. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Hello.
Hi, Lucille.
Hi. Yeah, call me Lucy. I so heard you and you responded, and I really appreciate that. And you might have answered the question. I just got a phone call from one of my children. So I was asking about 2 things. Do you think this modality is complementary to the other? So I do a lot of, I work with emotion code and body code practitioners. So that's one thing. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that, but it's great because it helps to clear and release and remove trapped emotions and all kinds of things, all matter of things inherited. So it's great. So that's a lot of self-work I've been doing there. But I've heard you on Wisdom of the Ancients, I think, and I'm kind of curious. I'm interested, and I also want to do this for my kids. So, but one of the situations, I guess, that I've created or that's come about because of I really enjoyed what you were speaking on earlier and the information that you shared. And I know that I've created a lot of what's happening in my life right now. So with that being said, I've kind of created some financial crises. And I'm just wondering, are there packages? Because I mean, we're talking about for me and my 3 kids. So yeah, those are the 2 questions. Is this complementary to other modalities? And also, do you offer any kind of packages or anything like that?
Send me on the second question. Send me an email, Lucy, and I'll check. Okay, 1 second. Let me mute. Okay.
I just heard. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
go ahead, please.
So send me an email about the second question. The first question, yes, it is complementary.
Okay.
It does not interfere with anything else.
Okay, yeah, because I'm also like, I want to say, was one of the other individuals who spoke a little bit earlier who asked some questions. I am on a quest of, it was Suzanne, or yeah, I think I pronounced that right, Suzanne. There's been some triggers. There's a marital separation, but things have been kind of going bad before then, and I really had a rough childhood in many ways. and you think you're okay, but different things happen in life that kind of show you that things that you thought were no longer issues are still issues. So it's okay. I mean, I do believe in God, and I kind of feel like some of the things that I've come across, like this, are part of what will help me to heal. So I really just appreciate, I'm grateful that you sent the link out, and I'm glad to be on this call, and I thank you for sharing the information and the healing and the meditation. So thank you so much. Okay, and I will send the email.
Wonderful, Lucy. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate your generosity. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay. Okay, I think I don't see any other hands raised or any questions. But again, remember, I'm pretty much always available. So you can email me, you can call me for a short question or something, not a problem. Okay? All right, it's about time. So I would like to thank everyone for being on the call. I truly appreciate you taking the time to come on the call and be with me. And I mean, I'm truly saying this from my heart. I'm truly saying this from my heart. I love you all. I love you all. Well, namaste. Thank you. And we'll meet again sometime. Bye-bye.